Welcome back to another episode of Red Tinted Glasses. We've made it to double figures, Callum. Episode 10 out this weekend. A good achievement to start.
I know I should have got like a party popper or something like that, maybe some party hats. That would have been nice. But I know 10, quite something, eh?
Yeah, I'm glad you all are tuning in, listening, viewing, and enjoying the content so far. We've really appreciated all the feedback we received, especially from this week's episode as well. We come into today's show on the back of a very disappointing result yesterday against Dundee United, a 0-0 draw. Callum, what would be your one-word summary of yesterday's game, and explain why you've chosen that word?
I've chosen lacking as my one-word summary because we're just sort of lacking the final ball, lacking the finishing touch when we did get those chances in the final third, and it was all just a bit underwhelming. That's not my word though, lacking. So it was just a little bit off, annoyingly. What about you, Glenn?
The word of the day for me yesterday was frustrating. Every time we got to the final third, like first half, the ball was too heavy with a pass. The shot wasn't the right side of the keeper, well, in my opinion. And then second half, the final ball was just not there at all. Balls into the box were terrible. It was just a very frustrating day at the office. A game that we should have been out of sight by in half time. And in the second half, we didn't get going. And given the results yesterday, is probably a chance missed to gain ground. So yeah, I think very, very frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, a chance to gain ground on Celtic, having them dropping points, and also would we gone above Hibs? I think if we won, considering they drew as
Um,
well.
I'm not
Um,
sure if we would have stayed behind them on goal difference
mm,
potentially, given our
mm,
severe lack of goals so far this season.
which we'll touch on later.
Yes, good link up there. So let's talk about the game then yesterday. We spoke midweek about, having a high intensity start off, well, getting United spaces. And I really feel we did that. But once again, similar to the Ross County game, there was just a lack of clinical edge to our finishing.
Yeah, it started off basically ideal. We've had that Johnny Hayes shot very early on. They sort of looked, for the whole of the first half, Dundee United looked really, really ropey, especially at the back.
Mm-hmm.
But annoyingly, the goal didn't come like it did against Ross County. I was hoping that if we just persevered, they would eventually crumble. I was convinced they would crumble, considering because they just weren't. Dundee United didn't seem to be up much at all until they changed shape in the second half. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
frustrating that we didn't get even just a one goal. A one goal win, we would have taken our usual 1-0. But just very annoying. Yeah, we just couldn't seem to kill them off. Never mind kill them off. Couldn't even get a goal. It's just all sad. Yeah, not a good Saturday afternoon.
No, it wasn't, and I think a lot of the general feeling was one of like, well, that was a chance missed, but it was something we touched on as well. Like if we got the goal, the floodgates would have opened, and I really did feel that watching the game yesterday. Given that like you said there, the lack of confidence that seemed to be in the United backline. I think it was Reynolds especially gave the ball away cheaply, but the final decision from Scott Wright and Johnny Hayes was they kind of got caught in two minds on what to do, and Seagrass again made one of his string of wonderful saves that he produced yesterday to keep us out. But I think, even when it came to set pieces, first half especially, it seemed to just be let's target Tommy Hoban's head, and again, unfortunately, just couldn't get anything on target. But as we moved into the second half, there just seemed to be a total drop off in performance. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, I felt we weren't sort of at the same intensity. I think it helped Dundee United when they changed their shape. They brought on Liam Smith and pushed Bolton further forward from the right wing back position. And who was it? Who else came on? I thought it's Powers. Powers came on. He did well. I had it all sorted out, and I've just had a nightmare. But yeah, we just didn't get going in the second half, same way we did in the first half. I felt if we came out with the same intensity, then maybe eventually we would have been able to break Dundee United down. But that just didn't happen. And when they changed shape, to be fair, they looked a lot better on the counter attack, and they looked more solid defensively too.
Mm-hmm. And one thing, I was watching the Man City Arsenal game yesterday, and the commentators were speaking about tiredness. Given the international break was Wednesday, some of these players not coming back till Thursday. Do you think maybe we saw that a little bit in the Aberdeen side? McLennan especially. I thought he had a very good first half, dropped away badly in the second half. Do you think there was maybe any cause for that in amongst the Aberdeen team?
Yeah,
I
I
know we
think
didn't have many players involved, but maybe just clutching at straws here.
We could be clutching at straws. It's not like us, is it? But I think definitely in McLennan's case, maybe not in anyone else's, but he sort of, I think, burnt out and didn't have the same sort of effect in the second half than he did. Obviously, he came off. But one thing we haven't even mentioned from the first half, that handball, our Alan Muir's eyes painted on. That was horrific.
I was going to come to that. I was letting the anger build up after the analysis, but I don't want to defend Alan Muir too much, given it is such a bad decision. But there's one replay, and I've watched it countless times. It's the replay from behind the goal, and it looks as if, I'm not sure who it was. It might have been Callum Butcher. It was a United player almost just goes in front of Alan Muir as the incident happens, because you can see as the ball diverts, he then has to move his head, and he's almost, you can just tell he's like, I'm not sure, because even in the first instance when I watched it, I thought actually hit Shankland's knee and went out. I wasn't convinced until obviously we've seen the picture that's been circulating on social media of how obvious a handball it is. So
yeah. Oh, sorry. I know the angle you're referring to. I think if he's not certain, he kind of can't give it. You can't really, but you're not going to like who it was. Of all men blocking it was Peter Pollitt. It was Peter Pollitt blocking his view.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was. It was typical combination between Pollitt and Shankland. They didn't score against us, but they prevented us getting the penalty. And it was God. Yeah, it was bad.
It was. And the thing is, as well, is the linesman can't even help him out because he's on the opposite side as well. But the one thing that did kind of tell you it was a penalty was the reaction of our players.
Our players and Lawrence Shankland's guilty face as well. He immediately looked at the referee as if like sort of rabbit caught in the headlights, but very frustrating. But I definitely agree. I said that to my dad at the same time during the game as well. If the assistant referee's on that side, then you've got a chance. That's another view, but there's no way he can see from the other side of the pitch. Just very, very unlucky circumstances, really.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a blatant penalty, but obviously we're trying to stay as impartial as we can be. But that's about the only defence I can give Alan Muir in that case. But hopefully, that sort of luck evens itself out over the course of the season. But I think, I kind of felt in the second half there was a similar incident when Dundee United had a shot that hit Ryan Edmondson's arm. For me, it was outside the box, but equally, as for me, that was a handball as well. But at least he stayed consistent and didn't give that decision either.
Yeah, that's true. If you're going to be consistent, be consistently bad. I suppose that's one thing.
So I think that's the Scottish referee's tagline, to be honest.
Yeah, to be fair, I think that's probably in the job description.
Yeah. But again, if we go back from an Aberdeen point of view, looking at players we kind of touched on in our preview show, one of them being Marley Watkins. A frustrating day at the office for him.
Yeah, there's a few that just never seemed to sort of fall for him in the box. I mean, our crosses were not great all day long. I think there's a couple that got up in the box, and it was from the Scottish internationalist Andrew Considine. But it's frustrating again for Marley Watkins. I think his link-up play, we just seen it all the time, his link-up play is very good, but I think when Cosgrove is fit to go back in there, I think that is crucial. Whether that means Watkins drops out, I don't know. If he could stay in the team, then that'd be fine by me, as sort of his link-up play, his hold-up play is good, got a good physical presence as well. But I think we are missing a sort of 20-goal season striker now. And as soon as he's back fit, the better, really.
And there was one point in the second half as well, kind of in the final 15 minutes where, we were not obviously chasing the game, but we were pushing to get that goal. And with both Edmondson and Watkins out on the wing, doing their interlinking out there, and they passed the Hedges, who then crossed the ball, and you're thinking, these two strikers, you shouldn't be on the wing, you should be in the box getting on the end of this delivery. And I think for me that kind of just summed up our day. It was like we were just almost trying too hard at times. Speaking of someone that tries too hard at times, with Ryan Hedges, I thought he did well yesterday, but the big chance was obviously Scott Wright in the first half. It was just too much on that final ball, and it was almost like indecision. McLennan first half was providing good balls, and they linked up well, McLennan and Hedges, I thought. But just that last movement, last pass, shot, whatever it was just didn't fall for us. But would we say, it just didn't turn off for us, or do we have to give the United defence credit as well?
I don't think it's United's defence deserve credit. I think Benji Seagrass deserves credit. I think obviously most of them were saves you'd expect him to make, I suppose. But at the same time, I think there is goalkeepers in this league that probably would have let one or two of them by, even if it was just for the fact he's 6'5" and he takes up a lot of the goal, and his stature just gives him a good advantage. I think Dundee United defended a bit better in the second half, probably limited us a bit more, but it was just very frustrating that we seem to be lacking that cutting edge to finish off these attacking moves, and it's just, as you said at the start of the episode, just very frustrating.
Yeah, and I think it's right to give Seagrass that praise. I mean, we saw his performance against Celtic. Ultimately, in that game, Celtic did manage to find the breakthrough, where we didn't. But he was probably man of the match in that game as well, and I would probably have given him man of the match yesterday as well. So it just does show for United when they are down there scrapping, putting in performances like yesterday, because let's be honest, it was a pretty poor United performance. You need your keeper to step up and keep you in the game, and that's what he did. Ultimately, in games like that, it then comes down to the attacking side to find a way through, and unfortunately, we couldn't do that. You touched on there about Cosgrove coming back into the team. Would you, if fit, of course, would you be starting him on Tuesday night, or would you at least put him on the bench?
I think the fact he's not been on the bench yet probably suggests he's not quite there yet. But if he's, as soon as he's fit for the bench, I want him on the bench. So we've got that option. And then once they feel he's completely match fit and he's good to go, I'm praying before the semi-final. But it's not looking great because he's not really been involved at all, other than in training. I think once he's fit, get him back in there, get him scoring goals, hopefully. And then he'll probably leave us in January, to be fair. But I hope not.
But just a final kind of touch on yesterday's game, just a couple of points more. Joe Lewis came out yesterday in his Red TV post-match interview and saying, obviously, kind of what we've touched on there, disappointing. We should be taking these chances. But he said there's positives to take from the result. Do you see the positives, or do you have any positives that you took away?
I suppose the fact that defence has got another clean sheet in them, that's probably a good sign. Probably gives you a bit more confidence as well. Other than that, I think we're struggling. We got Tommy Hoban through another game. That was good. Other than that, I really can't think of much. I don't know whether he will actually play on Tuesday, now that I think about it, because he obviously usually gets that 2 days rest, and then we've got 2 games against Celtic coming up. So the fact he came through injury-free is probably a good sign. Other than that, can't think of too much. I suppose we were creating chances. That's positive. At least it would be more concerning if we just were making nothing and it was genuinely terrible to watch.
I suppose that's kind of what he's referring to. I guess, our style of play and, positive intent was there, but it's hard to take a positive from that when you're not finishing the chances. But McInnes said, and I kind of agree with this, given our results so far this season, we'll play worse and win a game. That yesterday was just one of those games that whatever we did just didn't come off. But do you think, United were just really poor as well? Obviously Julius really only had one save to make, I should say, from Chalmers, and what a save. It'd be rude not to mention that save.
Yeah, it would have been typical of us to have been all over them in the first half, not taking any chances, and then for them to break up the other end and score that. It was a very good save from Joe Lewis. I think Dundee United, they do deserve some credit. I think definitely once Mickey Mellon, especially once they changed the shape, they did look a lot better, both defensively and going forward. And I was actually very impressed. You mentioned Chalmers there. I was really impressed with him. He seems to be, when Shankland, obviously, he wasn't getting much service, but Sports Scene showed it was Chalmers who cleared the ball from that corner, or the long throw, sorry, I think it was. I can't remember, to be honest with you. I'm just making it up as I go along. And then it was him that got on the end of the chance, and obviously he took Johnny Hayes out of the game, and it was just a poor touch that didn't get it quite out his feet, meant he didn't manage to finish the chance. But definitely big credit for Joe Lewis for that one, because obviously he didn't have much to do throughout the rest of the game. So to keep that level of concentration and still pull off a big save like that, definitely saved us, kept us getting 1 point instead of 0.
Yeah. So we try and take the frustration out on Hamilton on Tuesday night, don't we?
I hope so. I really, really hope so. But I'm not confident. They looked okay in spells against St John's. Obviously, they scored 3 goals. That's more than he
Mhm.
said for us. And they do
Yeah.
have some threats. Obviously, Templeton went off, but guy Ronan Hughes came on, scored twice. Ogumpo scored I hope I'm saying that right, scored a good header. And Big Moyo proves a threat as well. So I'm hoping we do take our frustrations out of them. And if we come flying out the traps, then maybe we should. But we've said that time and time again. We obviously thought, if we go flying out the traps against Dundee United, then we'll get a win. And that didn't happen.
Yeah,
So
look at us not predicting the future.
I know. So I'm hopeful more than confident, I'd say.
Yeah, I think, obviously, I seen the stat yesterday that Hamilton actually come up here scoring more goals than us this season. I think it is that we're the 8th top lowest scorers. Only 3 teams this season have actually scored, 3 or 4 teams have scored less goals than us this season. So, we really do need to be more clinical in front of goal this season. And this is going to be the type of game I think Hamilton will do what they normally do when they come up here and sit in.
Mm-hmm.
As he touched on there about them scoring 3 Johnston. But not only that, they also had a very good spell in their Friday night game at Easter Road. Yes, Hibs seemed to blow them away first half, but to come back and score a couple of goals and then, maybe feel unlucky not to snatch a draw. Obviously, they missed a penalty in that game as well. So it's fair to say Hamilton have got a fair threat in front of goal, which I can't really say with a fair amount of confidence for ourselves so far this season.
Yeah, it is concerning, and it is a type of game where they will, obviously, whilst they've got a point to hold on to, they will sit in and look to hit us on the break. So if we can't break them down, and it sort of gets to probably the hour mark, then I think we're in serious danger if we're still
Mm-hmm.
0-0 at that stage, because then they can come out to play a bit more, and they do have some threats going forward, as mentioned before.
Yeah, and also a Dauphin at the back as well. So set pieces will be a danger for us to hopefully make sure we're on our game for that. But as well as obviously them being able to score more goals than us so far this season, they've also conceded a fair few, obviously conceding 5 yesterday to St Johnstone. That should give us confidence if we go in with the same, pace and intensity that was shown in recent away matches. We convert that into our home performances, hopefully, get in behind and, like we've tried to say in recent shows, score early on. Then, given Hamilton's recent results, obviously the Betfred Cup results haven't been great for them either. Brian Rice is probably under a bit of pressure, so a fast start and get in at Hamilton would do us the world of good as well.
Yeah, I really hope that is the case, because then if we get one, then it sort of forces them also to come out and play a bit more, which then leaves them more exposed at the back. And it really would be good to go and get a few goals before the Celtic games, get the confidence flowing a bit more, because obviously they are going to be some tough tests.
Yeah, I know, and we will preview them later on in the week after obviously the midweek game against Hamilton. But a good point you made actually earlier in this episode there about Tommy Hoban and whether or not he'll be rested on Tuesday night. Do you feel if he is, would he move Considine into and like out of his position and then bring Greg Lee into the left wing back, or put Taylor into centre half?
I think I would prefer sort of Taylor moving across one, Constantine moving across one, Greg Lee coming in, then probably the other option, well, the other 2 options being changing to a flat 4 or putting Ross McCrory out in the defence and putting someone like Funso Ojo in, and we're just not the same team when he's in there and McCrory's in the back 3. So I was also like to see Greg Lee play, see how he's doing. I don't know if he's probably up to fitness yet, but I suppose the only way you get up to fitness, match fitness. So I prefer Greg Lee coming in than any other options like Ojo or going to a flat 4, to be fair.
And I suppose, like, no disrespect to Hamilton, but these are probably the sort of games you'd be happy to give Greg Lee minutes in instead of obviously chucking him in at the deep end against Celtic. But I think it was the view from the terrace said, we've actually won up until obviously yesterday. We'd won every game that Ross McCrory had started in the middle for us. Obviously, that's domestically, not Europe, before people jump down our throats about not being statistically correct. We're missing Grant today to pull on the stats. So, but I think it's a good point you make. We're really not the same team if he drops into our defence and we bring, Ojo, but we could always bring in McGeoch as well. There's some good options there in the centre. McLennan played at wing back. I thought he did well first half. Obviously, faded badly in the second half, and McGinn came on. Do you think we could see a change at wing back there? Obviously, we've spoken on Hedges playing there previously. Matty Kennedy, hopefully we see a return for him soon. Or we've also got Shea Logan as well, I suppose.
I'd be quite happy to go with McLennan again, especially in the first half. He looked really good going attacking from deep from there. I would prefer McLennan to Hedges if we're going to go with one of the more attacking players in there, just because of the balance it gives them being right-footed, being able to get to the byline and get a ball instead of having to come inside to an already crowded area of the pitch. I'd rather McLennan, but it wouldn't surprise me if against Hamilton or something like that, it would a game for like Shea Logan to come in and play just for rotation purposes, really.
Yeah, try and get some, obviously, with, like you touched on there, Hoban not always playing the amount of games. It would be good to get some fresh legs in for that Celtic game because, after yesterday's result for them as well and level of performance, there's no reason why we can't get in at them and get those legs freshen up for them. That'd be good. Similarly, then, that's a good point. If we, go 3 or 4-0 up, here's us getting very confident after the way we were finishing yesterday. Could you see us taking off like some key players ahead of the weekend's game?
Yeah, it's the ideal scenario, but whether we get to that position or not, I'm very sceptical. It would be literally the perfect scenario if we get 2, 3, maybe even 4 up. That would be very unlikely. It would be ideal scenario to get that sort of with half an hour, 20 minutes to go and be able to just rest some of the more important players. That would be ideal, but oh boy, am I not confident about that.
There's always something about Hamilton at home that just, playing Hamilton in general just gives me that absolute fear.
Any team with Brian Easton in it, they got dodgy, because we all know what he did against us when he played for St Johnstone in the 5-1 game. So I'm quite scared. I'm
glad it's you bringing the bad memories back to people this week, not me.
Maybe I'll get the abuse. Oh yeah, it's a change from you doing it, from going on that meltdown at the end of the other episode.
Yeah, but I mean, it's obviously, people have got to remember it's an earlier kickoff this week, 7 p.m, not 7:45. Hopefully, though, we've got shooting boots on. Scott Wright was, I think, had chances and probably should have done better with at least one of them where he went near side instead of going across the keeper, which I think would have been the better option. Would you keep him in the team for Tuesday night's game, or? I know he's been like a mainstay, but we're speaking of freshening things up with Celtic in mind. But do you want to do too much freshening up for a game like this? Because you then kind of risk disrupting the team too much. It's a fine balance.
Normally, I would have probably taken Niall McGinn for that game. But at the same time, when it's at Hamilton, you want to be able to be direct and be quick at them and run at them, because then that's where they might sort of crumble. So I think if he does drop out, then it would be for someone like Niall McGinn, which I'd obviously be quite happy for. But I think just because how they'll look to get set up quickly and we need someone with pace on the break against them, I think that's what I'd keep Scott Wright in for that.
Well, hopefully he's got shooting boots on Tuesday night.
Oh, I hope so, because I'm getting tired of defending him.
Yeah, it's becoming hard for you. It's like me trying to defend Ash Taylor sometimes. But hey, he's kept another clean sheet, so...
Yeah, you've got that one over me, to be fair.
And what was it, your comment that you made about Ash Taylor yesterday?
What did I say about him? Oh yeah, it was who's this ball-playing defender and what's he done with Ash Taylor? There's at times just spraying some amazing passes. I'll give credit to him. Sometimes I think he's good as a no-nonsense sort of defender, but he was playing out from the back a little bit and played a couple. I think there was one ball that was like 40 yards and it was perfect. It was sublime. I can't believe what I was saying, to be honest.
Constantine passing on that international experience and knowledge, telling him how to play properly.
Exactly. It was like we had McTominay at the back there.
Well, the top McTominay of recent times, not the first international break. But hopefully, when we come back to do our next episode, episode 11, check us go, we're actually discussing a more positive performance. Not to say that yesterday wasn't positive, but we've got more exciting things to talk about, and then obviously we've got the big game against Celtic coming up. That would be a big test for us and see how we get on, and obviously we've got the semi-finals to look forward to in a couple of weeks as well. I don't know if look forward is the right word for that game yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to block those out of my mind for now, just because I'm very scared. I know we'll touch on it in a future episode, but I'm very scared now that they've lost to Rangers, that might be the boot up the bum they need, because they've not looked great this season. So I'm very scared that we're going to get it taken out on us in both games.
Well, especially if they lose in Europe as well. But like I said, that's for episode 11. But to round off this episode, and obviously it's just a small preview and review show to just try and get out before Tuesday's game, do you want to put a better prediction than what we had, hopefully, from last week?
You're not going to like this,
not
Glenn.
Confident approach.
You're not going to like this. 1-0 Aberdeen is what I'm going with. That's just a safe bet. It's and statistically, it's probably quite likely.
True, especially at home, where I don't think we look as good compared to our away form, where we seem to be much more expansive, playing nice attacking football. At home, we seem to struggle so far this season. We've looked all right in spells in games, but overall it's been a bit slow and kind of not enjoyable. But I think if we get one early, the floodgates will hopefully open. But I have a sneaky feeling that Hamilton are actually going to score on Tuesday, which is going to really upset me for fantasy league purposes. I'm going to say 3-1.
3-1. Wow, that's a lot of goals for an Aberdeen game.
Especially, yeah. Well, who knows? We need some entertainment. Hopefully, it provides better entertainment than the Champions League, which returns this week, obviously.
Oh yeah, it does. I forgot about that. And Europa League, we're not even in that. It's just all sad. What a sad note to end on.
Well, hopefully we're back for episode 11 if we've not disappointed you too much for episode 10. And we'll have some cheerier things to discuss. If not, well, this will be a brutal episode next time out. But thanks again for listening and tuning in.